everyone, and welcome to the Encounters Film Festival. On our panel today, we have a team from the film The Case You, a really intriguing film. I want to say a beautiful film, but I'm not too sure if maybe that's appropriate given the subject matter, but it was just beautifully executed and just so delicately handled. We have the director, Alison Kuhn, with us, as well as two of the actresses from the film, Isabel Burtis and Gabriela Burkhart. I know I didn't say that properly. I literally just read it as it was, but
it was very good.
welcome, welcome, welcome. And I know you guys are all joining us from all different parts of the world. Could I please ask you all to introduce yourselves very briefly and let us know who you are? Alison, can we start with you?
Sure, Stan. Thanks for having us. I'm Alison Kuhn. I'm the director of the film The Case You. And yeah, I'm currently in Berlin. It's 9 a.m. here. So the same time as in Cape Town.
Okay, great. Okay, great. Gabriela, can we move on to you?
Yeah, I'm Gabriela, and I'm an actress and violinist and music educator, something like that. I'm right now, I'm in Cologne, so also the same time zone. 9 a.m. just woke up. Yeah. Thank you for having us.
And then Isabel.
Hi, my name is Isabel. I'm a protagonist in the movie, and I am calling from New York. So I just woke up. It is 3 a.m. in the morning.
That's quite incredible. You guys are all in different places, but at one time, you guys were all in this one place at this one audition. That's quite interesting. And also even your where you guys are from, your parents and all of that, it's so, varied, but at once upon a time, you were all in this one space. That's quite interesting, actually. I realized I didn't introduce myself. So I'm Yolanda Kibitz-Mokapisi. I'm a director and an actress. And so this film was quite, it personally intrigued me because I had lots of questions that I myself as an actress sometimes have, especially when choosing what auditions to go to and which ones to almost overlook and how far you want to go in such. But we'll get into that later. I want to start with perhaps speaking a little bit about your processes, just as Alison as a director with this particular project, but I know that you're an actress as well. And then Gabriela and Isabel with your processes as well. And then we'll move on to the actual subject matter or the topics around the film. And we're also joined by a group of young students who are also, starting out in their careers. They're also, I was told not to say emerging filmmakers, but they're also, at the beginning of their path. And so I think this film really, there's some questions that come up within it that really, if you ask yourself at the beginning of your film career, can set your course for what the rest of your career looks like. I want to start by saying this though. Firstly, well done on all of your awards so far, the award at IFA, and of course, all of the festival invites, including this one. Encounters is a really, really, really incredible film festival. So it's really fantastic to have your film here with us. I want to ask you, why did you make this film, Alison?
Actually, I think there was no other way around. I just had to do it. It was really like such a strong feeling that I had all these emotions in me, and I knew that there were so many women who shared these emotions, and I just felt the need to do something with it, to turn something hurtful into something constructive. And that was really my, how do you say, it motivated me through this whole process. Yeah, so I think I don't want to spoiler as much, but I say it in the movie that I was, I'm sorry, I have to close some windows here. Yeah, okay. That I was confronted with this situation at my directing entry exam. There was a person who also applied, who recognized me. And he said, "Hi, you're this actress. I know you from the audition back then." And it turned out he was part of the audition team. And so we had like a big discussion in front of everyone else. And it was the first day of my exam. So I was really in in a very nervous place. And
Yeah.
that's when I said to myself, if I will make it to get a place, how do you say, if I'm accepted to this film university to study directing,
Yeah.
then I will use this. I saw it as a privilege to to make a movie of it.
Wow. So your first film was a very personal film. And I can imagine that moment you being triggered with this conversation, and you must have also repressed it for a long time. And then he brings it up, and everything comes back up with it.
Yeah.
Gabriella and Isabel, why did you choose to take part in the film?
I had a few motives. I think some were selfish rather than others. For one, I was really looking forward to referring people to a movie to hear my story and not have to always explain
Yeah.
it. It's really complex. It's really unique, and it's also not something I need to discuss on a first date or at the dinner table all the time. So it's been really nice to just kind of refer them to a great movie. But also, it just felt right, honestly. Allison called me, and it sounded interesting, and I really enjoy working with great people and getting to know people. And I also saw it as an opportunity to give many other women a voice, women that had taken part in that audition, because there are way many more. But also generally, Me Too and that matter. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of the same. Also, I felt like I felt like something really, really bad happened to me, and I totally lost control of everything when I was at that audition. Like I couldn't do anything about it, and for years I tried to not think about it, just like let it go and don't like overwhelm it. But yeah, then I was trying to find a way to cope with it and to like speak to people, and also to turn it in something constructive, so that I get the control back and I get to say what I felt and how it felt for me, and to tell my story, rather than, I don't know, somebody can Google my name and something pops up that I didn't put there. So, and it wasn't like I wanted to be there. So yeah, and Allison just like felt like the right person to do it with, and all the great women that were there too, and just like to talk to everybody and like have this feeling of I'm not alone, and like we are all in this together, and we can help people with that too.
Yeah.
So
So I'm gonna jump off from. Oh, sorry. So finish.
No, it's fine. It's the
Okay.
same.
No, I just wanted to say, actually, I just want to jump off from what you just said, Gabriella, because Alison, I really felt that the film was really just like delicately handled. That it's your first, I imagine, is this your first feature documentary? This is your first long form feature, so I'm just, no, this is really well done. It was really just so deliberately, crafted, so even the way you build things up and such, and how the story unfolded was really, everything was considered, everything was really purposely done. And even just the style of the documentary, the little bits that were theatrical, I love the whole, the very first scene with, doing the ID, and the side, I was like, yes, everyone knows that. So, and I also noticed that you had an all-female crew. What are some of the other things that you did to kind of build trust? Gabriella said that she knew that you were, the right person to kind of put her guard down for, and to kind of, allow you to tell the story. What else did you do to kind of maybe support what you were trying to do? because you're really asking people to go back into places they don't really want to go into. And you know what that felt like, because you were also triggered when, one of the gentlemen asked you questions regarding the audition. So what did you do? What else what other support did you have while making the film?
Well, first, just a quick side note. We were an all-female team at the shoot in the room, but there were also male people in the team, like the producer or the editor. So we are a mixed team, but yeah, we decided to be all female on set while we were going into these memories and into these conversations who were quite delicate. So I think that was a good choice to be all female there. And what was important was to just talk to each of the women individually upfront, to just be really open and to I'm not sure if you can say it in English, but in German, I would say to put the cards on the table, to just to be very open and very clear about what we wanted to do, because I wanted to work contrarily to the style of this director that we talk about. So I made this very clear that it was going to be the opposite of that. And that we could also always stop if something didn't feel right. Nobody was forced to do anything, but it was just an offer. And in the end, also for me, it felt really good because we were, how many people were we actually on set? Maybe 10 women. And we all talked a lot while the shoot, also when the cameras were not rolling. And that just felt like a big safety net for me too. So yeah, actually talking was the key. Yeah.
Okay. Isabel, what would you say was the hardest thing or moment in this process for you? I noticed when you were telling your story, I don't know if you misheard it, but it almost felt like you were telling it in the third person. So you almost you retelling what happened, but it sounded, I don't know, in some places that you were retelling it in the third person. Were there any moments or any parts of the process that you found still very difficult to confront?
Mm-hmm. I've been telling this story for a while. Prior to our film shoot, I'd been telling it, I think, for 3 or 4 years. It wasn't emotionally really that hard, I have to say, because I'd gone through hard times before that. But at this specific shoot, there wasn't anything that was. I think my jet lag was the hardest part of it, honestly. There wasn't really anything at all that was an issue. And I, thinking about it, and I really didn't think that would have been such a cliche goal, but it did kind of heal me in a way a little bit more. Or like I found closure after that, which was so odd because I expected that the least, honestly. But I mean, we went through this for like 4 days, like morning to evening, and just in such detail. And I remember, and maybe that's why it seems like that in the movie, when we were done, like I was done. I got on a plane and I went back to acting school in New York, and like I think I've never told this story again in my own words since. It's like, okay, so I don't know what happened, but yeah.
That's incredible that you say that about the healing and the closure, because that was going to be my next question, because you're going through it like you did, walking through it, and still in a safe space, but still you are kind of, reliving it. It kind of, what does that do to you emotionally, and what does that do to you spiritually? Because I really do think just just the craft of acting can sometimes be such a spiritual thing. You inhabiting, you know, another character, another persona, you going in there and then you exiting, and also having to very clearly know who remains, you know, Yolanda, and then who is the character. It's really such a, you have to be, you know, it needs so much emotional intelligence and everything else. Gabriella, did you have any moments where all of that fear or any of those mixed emotions came up during the process?
Yeah, I cried like 24/7 basically. Yeah, no, honestly, like it's for me it was the same thing though. Like I felt closure after that, but going through it, I've never told anybody the story like I did there in the movie, because I was so afraid. I was so scared what like people would think of me, or I still have this feeling of guilt. So it was really, really hard for me. Yeah. And also I felt like I felt stupid because I was the one who like went to the second round, got invited to the second round. And so like, even though we all experienced the same, I felt like I was the stupid one. So that was just like how I used to feel about it. And so yeah, it was really hard. And to be honest, I had like lots of conversations with Alison too, being like, oh my God, I can't, I'm crying like all the time. How you want to make a movie out of it? Like, and like she was so supportive and like talking a lot to me, and like really made me, yeah, feel like this is a good thing going through it. And like, yeah, it was kind of like therapy too. But it still felt important. But for me, it was like it was hard, and I'm proud. I'm proud to have done it, and I'm proud that I can sit here and just like talk about it with like people from all over the country. And yeah, even internationally, like talking to somebody with like, yeah, it was amazing, because like a couple of years ago I've never thought I'd be able to.
I guess that's the power of story, right?
Yeah.
And how story resonates, you know, how story resonates with people. Looking furiously through my notes because I'd written down one of my favorite quotes from the film, and I think you say something like, how could I have let someone, how could I have given someone so much power over me? I wrote it down and oh yes, there we go. How did I allow someone to have so much power over me? And I thought, that's like the central question of this film. It's like, how did this happen? And you in it, and you know what's happening, and you know you're going, and you're in there, you're physically in there, but still this thing is just happening over you. Have either of you made different choices regarding your careers since indeed this moment, and since what you have experienced? Like, have you made different choices regarding maybe the auditions you now take, or even the brand that you want to build for yourselves as an actress?
I definitely did, still do. I'm like, it just took me years to even find out that like something was wrong there. Like I always felt it was really bad, but I couldn't really explain why. So it took me like years to even know. And and before that I just thought that's just how it is. Like, you're just an actress, so you kind of like, if it like feels bad, you have to go through it, because yeah, everybody has, kind of thing. And then after I figured out, yeah, it's not right, and it's not supposed to be like that, I was like really straight with everything. I was just like, I'm not going to auditions. I can't do that. It was really bad, but now I think it's just like more a constructive thing of like, it's really important to me. Say I'm talking a lot about it with my agent, for one, and like she's taking care of me too and stuff like that. It's just, yeah, But then also, I don't want to be a victim for the rest of my life. So I did not quit acting. Even though I had the thought in 2018, I was like, it was really bad, but I did not quit acting because I didn't want this to win. And I still want to do what I love to do. And I still think I'm good at it. Even though like maybe I did even get better at it because I don't have the pressure. I'm like, yeah, either I get the role or I don't, but yeah, it's my choice. And even if I don't want the role, because I actually said no to roles too. I said no. And yeah, and I did, like, there are people who say like, oh, then I don't want to work with you, or like, you can't do that. You're never going to be an actress if you do that. And I'm just like, okay, well, I just want to do what I feel good with. So.
And Isabel, you say some really pointed things towards the end. I loved what you said towards the end, because I could get a sense that you were like, I'm an actress, I'm staying, you know, and you're almost demanding, this is what we want, it's what I want in this industry. What are there any different choices that you've made, maybe in terms of the roles that you would not choose, or even just how you navigate your acting career?
Well, first of all, I chose a different career path for a few years. So not just because of the audition, but it kind of was the final hit for me. I was very young and I'd been working for quite some time, so I was just extremely tired of it all. But I obviously I have come back for similar reasons as Gabriella. Just I was like, why is someone taking my work from me? I think it also, first of all, it helps me very much that I'm not in Germany for like a lot of reasons. And I'm exploring a new form of industry, and I actually really have to learn a lot here. But in terms of artistically, yeah, things have definitely changed as well. For one, I'm not as interested actually in doing a lot of like commercial productions. I do a lot of my own work. It sounds kind of, I'm kind of like hermiting myself and just like very, very, very cautious about my surroundings. I think what it's taught me is like, I'm just super not interested in working with anyone I don't like. I think my work, especially my own work, is also ultra feminist and very, very much surrounded by women's stories. So yeah, it has changed, but you know, that always was my mindset. And I think that's something that really helped me, was to really listen to myself, because I think as women, we all have that. We all know we should cross to the other side of the road. We all have that, but we also have these voices in our heads saying, well, you're crazy, get over it. You know, no, I'm done. Like, I cross the road if it doesn't feel good. And, you know, going to that audition never felt good. I'd never felt pressured. My agent never pressured me, but it just never felt good. So, you know, if you hear hooves, it's horses.
I love that you brought that up. I was gonna ask a question about it later, but I'm gonna ask it now, and I'm gonna pose this question to Alison. So Isabel, I mean, you talk about how, you know, as women, we be nice. I feel like society has just demanded that we be nice and we be like affable, and we you know, just cooperate, you know, just go with it and all of that stuff. And as soon as you say no, then you're being difficult, or you're being this, and there are all sorts of other labels that are put on you. But there's so many themes in that the film touches on, and one of them is indeed boundaries, and the boundaries particularly of the actor or actress or performer. And the thing is, with the film industry, you know, we work in an industry where all of these unreal situations, right, are made up and are built and are manufactured and are just put up, and then you as the actress step into that and you make it real, and you live it and such. And so that includes all the way from, you know, the violences that the world has experienced and injustices and everything else, as well as intimacy, you know, like we're the one industry where we fake intimacy. And so if that's, those boundaries within that are not respected, it's like and society, on some level, everyone has seen a TV show or a movie or something. Some people have engaged with what it is that we do. And if we can't not just control, but if we can't find very clear and healthy boundaries in terms of what we do and how we reveal intimacy and how we explore it, even in untrue circumstances or kind of imagined circumstances, as is making a narrative film, you know, how where do we draw the line? Like, what do we do there? And so, Alison, what are your personal views on that? Both also being an actress and now a director, in terms of those boundaries, the boundaries of a performer, and what, you know, I don't really want to say what right you have, but what do those look like for you personally? And then what is your just your opinion on it, just in the industry for the amount of time you've been in it?
I think firstly, it's very important that we talk about boundaries. What we are doing right now is very important, just to clarify that there are boundaries who are different for every person, who are different in every situation. And I don't think that's the difficult thing. You can't say, this is my boundary. I don't want to shoot a naked scene or something like that, what came up in a movie. Because it's always depends on the person, on the people you are working with, on the project you are in, on how you are treated on set, how the intimacy is treated on screen. So it's just a very fluid and difficult thing. So I think it's perfectly fine for every actress and actor to define their boundaries, but it's also okay to change opinions. But it should never happen because someone is pressured by the director or by the production or agent. It should always come out of themselves. And so I think that's really just the main point. Everything that happens on set needs to be consent. There needs to be a mutual agreement that we want to do this or that together. So yeah, actually, there's not even a difference, in my opinion, as an actress or director, because that's just the main point. It needs to be both parts need to do it liberally, and you need to be able to talk about everything you do. There should not be this feeling of, oh no, I don't know if I should talk about the director about that, and maybe he will think that I'm not cooperative if I ask this. So yeah, that just really needs to go, and there needs to be an open communication, and then I think everything is possible.
And I think the absence of what you say, communicating these very clear boundaries, what my boundaries are, what your boundaries are, even if you are the director, is something that's very absent still in the film industry. Because I mean, the overarching thing is this, you know, this toxic power, these power games that sometimes exist, or power structures that exist in the film industry. And it's a pity, because we walk in there as actresses or as a young graduate or whatnot. You walk into it and you find it there, and you're like, it's been like this. Everyone tells you it's been like this. How do you even begin to try to change it? Before I even ask my next question, I'm gonna now change the conversation and make it a little bit more interactive. So I'm gonna invite the young students and the interns, the up and coming filmmakers who are joining us on this panel. Please, if you have a question, just raise your hand and pose it to who you'd like to on the panel. So the film was very, very timely. I was actually looking at this and I wanted to look at dates, and I was listening to what you guys, oh, there's a question. Okay, let's see, Hannah, okay, I'm gonna ask a question and then I will get to your question. But it's noted, So yeah, the film was very, very timely. And I was just looking at the dates that you mentioned in the film. All of you, all the actresses were saying it was 4 years ago, 5 years ago, so 2015. And then the Me Too movement, we really went viral in 2017. So imagine all of this happened just before, the lid came off everything. It happened right in the middle of when things were really in the thick. Things were still really done in secret. Things were still not really addressed as they are now. And now the film is coming out where really these things are no longer acceptable. People are speaking out, and you have so many other women behind you. Have you ever, what's been the reception of the film, given all of this? And I'm sure this is still the beginning of your journey, but what's it been so far?
Been great, actually. We received so much support, and so we had so many conversations with women and men about it. And the only thing is that it happened online until now. So we haven't really had this eye-to-eye connection with people, but people are writing to us, and we have Zoom conversations, and it's been really beautiful.
And yourself, Gabriella and Isabel, are you getting the Hollywood treatment that you guys maybe might like, or the attention and all of that? How's it been for you?
Yeah, I can just say the same, actually. Like, we get really, I was actually, once we were asked if like we ever got like a bad message, like somebody saying, what's wrong with you girls? And honestly, like that's the point where we're like, no, actually not. And like it's really surprising, because I was so scared, as always. No, I was so afraid first, like, because it's like really, it's like the worst thing that ever happened to me, and then like speaking about it in public and stuff like that, it was like it's scary. So yeah, I'm actually like I'm so happy and so thankful that we get so many really, really nice messages. And it's kind of sad that we don't have this eye-to-eye thing, as Ellison said, because I think it makes you feel it too, because it's like, yeah, giving all the things going on, like really like feeling something and feeling a person talking to you is very rare right now. But still, for the situation given, it's been amazing. Yes.
And you, Isabel?
We've had wonderful treatment from every film festival we've been at, especially in these conversations. It's been really wonderful. I'm very sad that especially our team hasn't seen each other since. We've become very, very good friends. That being said, I actually thought about how I enjoy a little bit the extra protection of just being on a screen, because like I like woke up earlier and I was like 3 a.m. and I'm talking about my abuse again. And I thought the same in terms of like the parties, like what's it like to go to like a film festival party and you're known to be like an abuse victim? Like, do you come up and it's like, hey, so great story. So I'm eager to finally go in person, hopefully in a few months. But at the same time, I have to say, I think it's been a really good transition. And I feel very safe because I've just had these wonderful encounters. I've, met wonderful people even through Zoom. Yeah.
I love that you say that. It reminds me of the current Naomi Osaka case, where she just, she was like, no to the press, I don't need this right now. What's for my personal, mental well-being. And you saying you can choose. You want to choose to, okay, cool, I'll engage, but like this, and really protecting your personal space, because you have that right, And sometimes it feels like, as an actress or somebody who is a public figure, people just feel like they can just like own you and just own your image. And it's like, no, I can choose, I can choose to still exercise these boundaries around me. Hannah, could I please ask you to come up and ask your question?
Yes, hi. I'm one of the interns at Encounters. I really loved the film. It was such a pleasure to watch, and such an incredibly cathartic and wonderful space that you created. So just congratulations on that. I was kind of interested in Yolanda's question about boundaries and intimacy. I've heard a lot of talk within the theatre and film world about the rise of intimacy coordinators and consultants during audition processes, especially, but also in productions. In your experience, both Alison as a filmmaker and Gabriella and Isabel as actresses, how do you think audition processes and productions have changed to be more accommodating and make the space comfortable for women in the years subsequent?
Who wants to start?
You.
Okay. Well, thanks for your question. And I think you mean like, I just need to say it again. So you mean like what has changed since then, or if something has been changing in the industry? Yeah, well, actually, we've had a great talk with an intimacy coordinator at another festival here in Germany. So we had a panel about how to prevent power abuse, and she was there, and we were there, and we've had some very interesting conversations and ideas that something like maybe she could teach a course about intimacy coordination at my film university for the directing students. So we're currently talking about that. And I think that would be very great because it's actually not so much about what the actresses need to do in an audition because they have no choice, but it's about how the directing team and the audition team creates this audition, what they do, how they lead the actresses. And I think there has been little talking about that in film universities on how do I do an audition. That's so crucial. But yeah, I think maybe now the point has come where we can include this more in our curriculum and create an awareness on how do I do it, what is okay at an audition, what is not okay. But I think there have been some changes already. Like just this week, I've had an audition as an actress with a scene that is supposed to be like an intimate scene in the film. Of course, I had this thought, okay, but no, it was a great female director. And the first thing she said was, of course, the line says there's an intimate scene, but of course, we're not doing it in the audition. So we're just marking it. And yeah, I think that's just really the way to do it. And I was very happy about that. And I think something is changing there. And we just need to really keep on doing it. Yeah.
I think it's a really, really important point talking about educating budding artists on these things, because that's where we learn. And what I really like about our team is that we're all really international, so we bring different experiences and cultures to the table. So I started my artistic training in Germany, and I left for a few reasons. Many were also boundaries, and I came here, and I had a complete different experience. Our first exercise or our first class in my drama school was on toxic masculinity. A psychologist spoke to us, and an intimacy trainer. It was, I couldn't believe it. Like I got a handbook of like, it's like, where am I? So, and like here we have a union, that has extremely strict rules. So, but I definitely believe that it's all in the education, because you know, like as Gabriella says also in the movie, is I thought this is how it is. And luckily I knew it wasn't, just because I'd had different experiences. But, you know, I did have an incident here in drama school that was absolutely not that dramatic. It was just about kind of conduct, how to speak with each other. And I said to the dean of the school, I called a meeting and I said, this is not okay, because you are telling these young students, you are showing them that it is okay to be spoken to like that by a teacher or a director. So they are going to go out in the world and carry that on. And this is how Me Too happens. This is how Harvey Weinstein happened. So it's not okay. And I think it makes a big difference.
I love that you nip it in the bud, like as it starts, no, you know, like cut it off.
I'm
like
just, you know,
completely.
I'm tired and I'm just done.
Yeah. It's like, you just, there's no time for that anymore. Yeah. Gabriella, did you have anything to add regarding that?
No, actually, I can just say the same. Like for me, it's important to not put the finger on the actresses and actors being like, you have to change something, you have to know your boundaries, and if like you can't hold your boundaries, then it's your fault. I think we have to like get back from that thinking, because that's wrong. We should not be put in this position at first. So I think that's like something that's very important for me, also because it's like, if it happens to you, you need to learn how to handle the guilt, because like the first thing you feel is guilt. And I think that's really bad. And it's for everyone who like in every way gets abused, the first thing they feel is guilt. And why is that? Because we learn it. And also, like, I think it's like very individual what you've experienced before, like how you react in situations like these, because let's say the gymnastics movement, like it's not just like the film industry, it's also like in gymnastics, for example. And I was like a high level gymnast, and that's how I learned to like cope with someone who has power, is just to shut up and just like do what people tell me to do. So like it was easy in my case because of the experience I had before. And I think it's important that it's not just the film industry, it's not just gymnastics, it's like the mix of everything. And and it's not the victim's fault. It's like we have to change the system in how we work with each other, because it's not like he works with me, it's just like we all work together. I don't know if you know what I wanted to say. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I actually want to dwell on your point a little bit and just remind everyone again on the panel, if you have a question for Alison, for Gabriella, or Isabel, please do just raise your hand and we'll bring you up and you can ask anything you want to ask. But just on this point indeed about knowing indeed what's right and what's not right, or what's okay and what's not okay. What I also appreciated with the film, so I see your hand, it's definitely noted. What I appreciated with the film, and because this is very true, there were so many blurred lines. It almost revealed the psychology around like sexual predation. So many blurred lines from what you described as being the casting call. And it's like, yeah, welcome, you get the bios were there, everything looked legit. And it's like, well, I mean, this is going to happen, but you don't have to, almost like giving you a choice, all the way up until indeed you were in the room, and also kind of being like, there's a moment where you speak about being in this tunnel and feeling disorientated, and up until indeed being led or pressured into doing these things that you did not want to do. Like literally, it's almost like you're making the choice, but are you really making the choice? You're being influenced into it. No, but I did it. There's so many like questions and uncertainties that are in those moments. Did you have any debriefing or anything like that as you lived that in the space, as you were shooting, or even if it could have been something formal, like what we were speaking about, if you're having an intimacy coordinator, maybe you had some counseling or anything like that, or any kind of debriefing as a team, as a group, to just kind of exit that space, or very clearly pinpoint, okay, at this point, that was not okay. Okay, at this point, that was not okay. I felt awkward here. I don't know what it was, but I think also that wasn't okay. Did you have any formal way of clarifying that as a team, as you were shooting the film? Not that you needed it, but did you, I mean, is there any kind of, I don't know, debriefing or over and above, I guess, what we see on screen that you maybe did privately or even personally, you know, just to kind of shake things off and yeah, and to work through maybe some of the things that remained. I'm not too sure if this might be a very personal question. As I'm saying it now, I'm thinking
I'm just
maybe
not sure if
no,
I'm sure it's not. I'm just not sure if I get it right. So, could you say?
Okay, let me word it differently. So, let me ask it like this. With how you designed the process, right, Alison? How you're gonna have the different actresses come in and talk through, you know, their story, but also walk through, it's like a reenactment, but it's not, it's a storytelling, it's a confession, it's a whole lot of different things. Did you create that with, you know, with a counselor or anyone, you know, what's the word? In consultation with them? Or was it just, you know, and also with the debriefing, whenever indeed Gabriela talks about being very, very emotional the entire time. Was there someone there on set or someone that you could talk to, or, okay, it's okay, Gabriela, if you needed a hug, there was one person designated on the set to give a hug. You know what I mean? Anything like that? Did you, like, how did you create that, that space just to let everyone just shake it off whenever they needed to?
Now I got it. Sorry, I thought you mean.
No, it's okay. I did say a lot of things before getting to the point.
It's a very legit question. It's very okay. No, yeah, I had a psychological teaching before the shoot, and we also had a psychologist who we could have called in case that something was going too out of control. But it actually never came to that point because we figured it out by ourselves. We hugged each other when we were allowed to, and we just really were these people for each other. So I think, of course, there were times when it got really emotional and when some of us had to just take a minute and, or maybe just quickly go outside or take a walk or talk. And we tried to take the time for that. Of course, we had a tough shooting schedule, but yeah, I think we figured it out by talking again. Sorry, it's boring what I keep repeating, but talking is key.
No, it also, I see why the bond, you know, the sisterhood, the bond that you guys have formulated happened, because indeed you kept it here and you guys were safe. You guys trusted each other. You trusted Alison, but you guys also trusted each other. And I think, Alison, you also having an idea of the experience almost helped in a way, because you're also in it. You're not an outsider. You're also right there in it, even as a director. Lukanyisa, can I ask you to come up and ask your question?
Can everyone hear me? I believe one of the things that has put an audience who might not understand what it feels like to experience what you women have went through, as close as possible to a story was in the way that the story was told. You kind of put us in your shoes. And this is for Alison, the director. I wanted to ask, as a director, did you go into this film with the vision of how you wanted the style of this documentary to turn out? Looking specifically at the creative choice of reenactment as a form of helping tell a story, I wonder how much collaborative input led to the way the movie finally turned out.
Yeah, actually, I've had a very clear vision from the beginning on what the film should look like, and I it sounds so spiritual, but I just had this picture of these 5 women in this theater hall, and how I wanted to connect these different levels. And I actually was quite surprised in the end how well it turned out, what I just created in my mind. And I really felt that the form of the documentary needed to be as complex as the case itself. So I could not have just talking heads film. We could not have figured all this out in just an interview level. And what you beautifully described as putting the spectator in our shoes, I think that's what we try to do by these different levels. So we are not only talking on a very rational, can you say that? Rational level about what happened, but we also try to look into the emotional part of it. That's why we also had this improv parts who are a little bit more performative and more moved. So all these different parts create what I think the best the best way to really feel what we felt. Yeah. Sorry for my English.
I thought it was a beautiful vision that you had, Alison. And that's why I'm so impressed that this is your first film. It was very clear, yes, maybe they're spiritual. You saw the vision, you could see it, and it worked. And it worked beautifully, so simply done, but so beautifully crafted and so just carefully handled. I'm going to ask Zainab to come up and ask you a question, please.
Hi, can you hear me? Great. Yeah, I really enjoyed the film, and it definitely touched a nerve with me as well. And I think I just wanted to ask, you know, the film deals with very personal experiences and subject matter, and I think I just wanted to maybe get your opinion or advice on what would any sort of advice you have to other women filmmakers who are kind of looking to deflect their own experiences onto the screen and maybe have been either too afraid of being too personal in their work, or maybe more just a matter of not having enough confidence to kind of talk about it, because obviously at this given time, you know, that's becoming a much bigger thing of women being able to actually come out and talk about these experiences and these issues that we're having. So I just wanted to hear from your perspective, if any sort of challenges that maybe you faced while kind of thinking of the processes of making the project.
Thanks for the question. I think that's very important. First of all, I think it's great that right now so many personal stories are coming out in the world, and you just see that there are so many unspoken stories out there. But I can just talk from my personal point of view. For me, it was important to, even though it was a personal story of myself, to step aside a little bit and to stay in my position as a director and not to get too involved myself, because I think then I would not have had the objectivity to make this film, you know. So it depends, of course, on what kind of film you want to do. But in this case, if I would have been too involved, I could not have been there for my protagonists as I needed to be. And but for me, that was actually a good thing, because I gained so much trust and strength out of it, because being there for somebody also makes you stronger. So that was for my film, I think, the right experience. But I think you just need to ask yourself, how much of it can I put into it of myself? How much feels comfortable? I don't think it's good to force something, because you always need to just reflect on what will it feel like for me when it's out there. It can help. sometimes maybe it won't. I think that's very individual. You just need to do what feels comfortable for you. But it's great that you're talking about these things and thinking about it. It's very important.
Actually, so did you have anything else to add or ask, Zainab?
Well, no, I mean, like, yeah, I think I've also kind of faced some of my issues that you're talking about there, about putting myself too much in the involvement of the story and just trying to step back and be the director and the curator of what is happening in that film. So yeah, it's really helpful to hear from, especially coming from the project like this, of such a personal story, that it's kind of hard to sometimes separate yourself from the project. And I think, yeah, it definitely helped a lot. Thanks.
Great, thank you.
I actually quite appreciated that the question and your answer, Alison, because it almost reminds me again of the boundaries. And again, you know, as filmmakers and as actresses, again, you know, you always feel like it's expected. You must give your all, give your all, give your all. One of the things I've learned this year through a really gifted acting coach, she said, this is you, your full self, and then this is the character. And whenever you're doing a character, even if it's a role, you take a walk, you leave yourself over here, and you take a walk to the character, you know, and you choose what it is that you bring while you're here, but you don't have to bring all of you. It's not like the character, you know, this is you, this is the character. You just take a walk over there, and I feel like, whoa, that has completely clarified so many things in my head, and again about my personal, my own boundaries and my own choices and my own rights also with what it is that I give. Do we have another question from our extended panel? Let me just see. Okay, not at the moment. Oh, wait, we do. Okay, another, okay, I see you, Hannah. I'm gonna go to Tahir. Tahir, could I ask you to please come up and ask your question?
Yeah, it's a bit wild, my bad. Hello, thank you so much. I really enjoyed the film and also the Q&A. And most of my questions that I had are already answered. But I wanted to ask, coming from film school myself, like basically freshly out of film school, when you're dealing with very sensitive subject matter, it becomes difficult to understand and figure out what to keep in, what to keep out, what to prioritize, what to emphasize for an audience that doesn't know about film and doesn't know about the process of making film. So my question is about the medium, the use of the medium through the edit. How did you prioritize what to keep in and what to cut out?
Yeah, I think for that it was very important that I had a great editor. He's also male, so maybe that's again another point of perspective. So of course, yeah, maybe if I would have edited it myself, I'm sure I would have kept more in it, because as a director who is involved in something, you always feel like, oh, okay, we have to tell everything, but it's not possible in 80 minutes. So I think realizing that is the first thing, and that you don't have to include everything because it's not possible. So I think prioritizing is also very important. But it also changes when you're in the editing room. You see what's in the material. You see, yeah. You need, of course, you need to take a step aside there again and ask yourself, what would a person who's not involved in it at all want to know? What is also interesting to them? And we tried, even though, of course, it's an emotional film, it's a very sensitive topic, but still we tried in the editing to create suspense. So we wanted, what was my aim was to, do you say unravel? Isabel help me, entfalten. No, to unravel, I think that's the word, the story bit by bit, so that you start very small. We start with just actresses talking about their job, and it's opening wider and wider until you're really sucked into the story. And yeah, actually we just let ourselves being led by the material created by our protagonists. We followed the stories that they talked about during the shoot, and at the same time tried to hold the suspense. And yeah.
If I may say something about that, I felt like we were also included very much in that. I remember this moment of watching the very like raw footage of it, and that first of all we were allowed to do that. And I like got my notebook and I like wrote down everything, and then I called Allison and I was like, okay, let's talk. And first of all, the fact that I could do that is really special. And we're also friends, so you know, but still it was really unique. And what I really loved, first of all, I learned so much more about, like, she had a really big team like working on this. I was so surprised because I definitely just had questions. I didn't really have critique, but I just had questions. Why did you do this? And she gave me answers that had so much backbone that I was like, okay, you sold me. Like, like I remember you saying, well, no, we have to do it this way because that way it creates more strength. I spoke about it with a psychologist and I was like, she knows what she's doing. I didn't question it, but I was like, okay, yeah, okay. So.
I'm much better in it in German, so you can't really take this as a point of reference. But no, yeah, that's right, actually. That's a good point. I also had a psychologist look at the rough cut, because we also had questions about, maybe you remember these little parts who were a bit more moved and abstract, who one of the protagonists, for example, says, next time I will punch you in the face. And we talked a lot about this in the editing room. Are we allowed to keep this in? Is it okay? Is it? And then the psychologist said, it's so important that you keep that in because it changes the protagonists to from a victim who tells about something what happened to her, to somebody who's active, who's in charge, and who has an aggression that is absolutely okay. And yeah, I think that was also very important to also show aggression. Is aggression the right word? Anger, to show women who are angry. And I'm always saying that we need to see more women who are angry. And I think, Yolanda, you said it in the beginning, that often with women, it's the case that people then say, she's just being, she's being annoying, or she has issues. But I think anger is just a very legit emotion. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And let's go back to Hannah. Hannah, please come up and ask a question.
Yeah, thank you so much. I just wanted to ask Allison, I think this film is really astonishing for me because it has such a restricted space, and also the time that you were filming was so restricted, so it must have been a very intense process. I wanted to ask how you came up with that approach to filmmaking, and how maybe filming this has changed the way that you want to approach your filmmaking in the future.
Oh yes, I think it was very crucial for my working as a director, for finding my cinematic style. It was the first project. I had done some short films before, but it was really the first project that I looked at and thought, yeah, maybe that's the style that I want to shoot movies in. And Actually, I can't really give you a great answer because a lot of it just came out of my gut. I just felt like, yeah, it just felt right to do it this way. I have not had so much teaching before that because I was in my first year of film university. I've had, yeah, a great semester of documentary filmmaking. But was very new to the whole topic of documentaries. And yeah, I just followed my intuition, I think.
I am going to close us off by just jumping on and adding to Hannah's comments about how the film takes place in this really enclosed, almost environment, very like, just this small space. However, it touched on so many things we haven't even begun to talk about. I mean, just all of these tummy themes about consent, boundaries, data protection, personal rights, or the right to publicity, which is something that comes up in the film, right? And the whole reason why it became so controversial or was just kind of out there in the public space, and people were talking about it quite a bit. The toxic behavior in the film industry, and also the problems with just the judicial system in terms of just when somebody wants to report something or report to sexual harassment is always feels like it's the same all over the world. It's just problems. It's like, why is this thing so problematic? It's like, this happened and this happened to me. Can someone please help me? So with all of that said, what is your wildest wish for this film, both in terms of its reach and impact, and also you personally, each of you being a part of the making and just the existence of this film? What's your biggest wish for it?
Honestly, like my wish kind of had come true already. Just like, because I don't know, like this turning out not the scary thing I thought it would be, but like, I don't know, like having such a positive feeling about it, and like talking to people, encouraging women to actually speak up, or just like to speak to somebody. They don't have to make a film out of it. Like you don't have to put all your personal stuff in a movie or something like that, but just like talk to somebody who like feel comfortable with, or just like realizing, oh, there was something wrong, just like small things like that. And yeah, and having like met those amazing young women and having the sisterhood we always talk about. So like actually, like I already think I've got everything I've wanted for the movie, and everything that's coming next is just like, wow, this is happening, like this is the next level. And I just like, I'm like, oh my god, this is so good. Yeah. And
Gabriella, you like living your best life right now. I can see it in your face. You're like, yes, I'm here.
No, yeah, because like it's been years, and like I'm finally not treating myself as a victim anymore, and it's like it feels good. And it's not because something I did, it's because of this team and this movie and these women and everything we have done together. And also like I wanted to add a little thing to if we had a person we talked to, like a counselor or something. I didn't really think about that because I really didn't need it. I just needed my girls to be there, and just like I felt like I could talk to them all the time. And we did have a lot of fun too. Like I cried during the movie, but then when we were outside, we were talking about everything. But everything else, we just like normal girls talking and having fun and like being silly as well and stuff like that. So we've had everything in those 4 days. Yeah, that's all I needed.
Isabel, for yourself?
I hope that the film sparks conversations such as we are having them right now, but also behind closed doors. And I hope that people perhaps also take that as a start to reflect upon their own behaviors, but also their own world that they live in, and what they are interested in, you know, basically maybe asking themselves the questions you've asked us, you know, what kind of work do I want to produce? What do I want my world to look like? But, you know, I think, as Alison has also pointed out, communication is just key, speaking to one another. And I also think it's really wonderful, and I'm really moved to be listened to the way that we have. I think it's yeah, just very, very moving. So thank you.
Thank you. Alison.
The two said it so beautifully. I can just, yeah, I could repeat it, but it's exactly that what I had been wishing for. Maybe I have just one very selfish little thing that I wish for. I wish for a whole team to come together in a cinema and to just once watch it in a cinema together, because we have not been able to do that yet. And yeah, but everything else that they said is very true.
I thought you were going to say you want all of you guys to come together and create one more film, but this time a narrative film, and everyone is an actress in it. And again, you're writer, director, you know, I don't know, who knows, in the future sometime. Alison, Gabriella, Isabel, I just want to thank you so much for joining us this morning. But more than that, I want to thank you for your bravery and your courage to tell the story, and also to tell it as fiercely as you have. And Alison, to just really almost so carefully, you know, take these gems that you've been given from all of these ladies, all of your protagonists, and really, you know, treat them with the respect and just the delicacy, or the just the craftsmanship that they required. So yeah, I'm so glad that you are back in the acting game. I think that is incredible. That in itself is such a great testimony indeed of your you know, just your not just your growth, but also you overcoming this and being like, yeah, you know what, we staying here. And again, you said it in the movie, Isabel, you were very much like, just listen to us. Like, I literally got the sense she was like, I'm not going anywhere. You just need to listen. You just need to change your behavior. So then I think that's beautiful. Thank you everyone who was on the line with us. Thank you for your really considered questions. Those were really amazing questions. And I really think it's beautiful that everyone is, you know, at the start of their careers, everyone's just starting out and everyone's figuring out who they want to be and what the stories are that they want to tell. And you guys were the perfect just first like panel to ask these questions to, because of your experiences and even where you guys still are. You still, you know, are relatively still kind of, you know, emerging from film school or wherever else to where you will eventually be. This has been a panel presented by Encounters. I just want to thank Encounters and all of their different sponsors. My name is Yolanda Kiwitu-Katusi, and I hope you will go and watch this film. I'm assuming maybe you've already watched this film, that's why you're watching this panel. But if you haven't, really, you know, recommend it to anyone else who hasn't seen it, and do please watch the rest of the films in the festival. Thank you so much, everyone, and good evening, good night, good morning.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the great conversation, Yolanda, and thanks to the whole Encounters team. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.